produced that is so overwhelming, so forceful in its impact, that it becomes deeply embedded in the mind.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
We appreciate your choosing our theater. And to make this experience more enjoyable for everyone, we hope you'll refrain from talking during the show. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for, and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. so disgusting.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You're watching Still Token with. My name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a awesome episode for you as usual. And without further ado, Mr. Benjamin, how's it going?
Awesome.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm just playing on your words. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of excited for tonight's guest.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, did I say that right? Did it come out right? Excited to chat with our guest tonight. How's that?
Are you doing okay tonight?
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Jeffrey.
Hey, happy Wednesday. And it's awesome sauce, isn't it? Isn't that what you say? Awesome sauce?
Awesome sauce.
You can say awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're from Connecticut. We say that up in this neck of the woods. Awesome sauce.
I
So happy Wednesday. I'm excited. Let's get right into it. Let's welcome Michael Barron. Welcome, Mike. How you doing?
Am I on?
You are on, sir.
Good evening.
Oh, yes. By the way, Mike, yes, we're live now.
I was taking a short nap.
That's okay. Most of our guests do that.
You know? So you're out in the Midwest, somewhere out there. So you guys are having the beginnings of what we're going to get later, huh?
Yeah, weather seems to go west to east.
Right?
Okay, that was short and sweet right there.
He told you like it was.
It is. That's how it works.
So
You know?
you asked for it.
Right? So, Mike, I saw you on.
Oh,
news-
shit.
the
Oh, wait, sorry, boys.
Are you okay?
Huh?
Oh, no, I pushed the wrong button. You disappeared, but I'm back, and I can see you all now.
There you are.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay.
I know you were asking for the YouTube link, so I just gave it to you. So you should have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Behind the scenes stuff going on always.
Yeah.
It's always.
Yes, Pops. We established that one.
And we established that weather goes west to east.
West to east. Yep.
And then it's cold out. Anything else we'd like to talk about?
Now-
weather-wise?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me on.
So since you live out in Colorado, do you ski? Do you partake in winter activities like that? No? You'd be a snowball down the hill?
He's like,
No.
When I first moved out here, I did a lot of hiking in the mountains.
Nice.
not so
But
much
I'm
anymore.
no skier. No,
No skier. No, okay.
But
No.
he is a comic writer though.
That's
Yes,
right.
he is a comic writer.
He's a comic writer.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Leo. You brought it up. Go for it.
Well, so you started your career in the 70s and you've worked
Oh.
on. Yeah, no.
let's not push it.
Okay.
My first published comic was Nexus in 1981.
Okay. What the hell?
Yes.
Wikipedia is wrong. Okay.
Well, it says he entered the comic industry and illustrated with an illustrated text piece.
Oh, yes.
for Weird Trips
Yes.
magazine.
Weird Trips
But
magazine.
that's
Yes.
true. My first published piece was for my old pal Dennis Kitchen in a kitchen sink publication, but I didn't consider that comic book work. First serious comic I did was Nexus.
Next.
Which was 1981.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're currently doing your own independent work, but you've worked for Marvel, you worked for DC, Dark Horse, done work on you worked on the reboot of The Flash Volume 2. You did a lot of work with Punisher, if I'm correct with that as well.
Yeah.
And responsible for the character Microchip. How did that come about?
It seemed to me that the Punisher needed technical support, that he couldn't be as effective as he was without somebody backing him up providing the arms and the communication system. It was just too much for one man. And so Microchip was born.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I love that character in the movies. I don't know if he carried on to the TV show or whatnot.
He did, but they changed him completely.
Yeah. So this is one discussion that's come up a lot with writers that create characters. When those characters you've created make it onto like the big screen and whatnot, the large comic companies, they don't really give any kickback, do they?
No, they do. I
They
can't
do?
complain.
Okay.
Marvel has paid me for Microchip. DC has paid me for storylines on the Flash television show that they took from my comic.
Oh, nice.
I have no complaints. I only
Oh,
wish
good.
that I had created a lot more characters, but who knew that they would put every one of these characters on screen?
Right.
I would have delved into a lot more superheroics, but nobody knew that this was coming. And I only say that because it would have paid well, because really I enjoy writing my own characters more than I write anybody else's characters.
Mhm.
Uh,
Makes
Pops-
sense.
yeah. Pops is asking, what did you find in the mountains, Mike?
Well, one day, Pops, we were working our way up a trail in Rocky Mountain National Park, and we came along across a couple of women walking their horses in front of us. They couldn't ride the horses because the trail was too steep, so they were walking the horses. And they're going at a slow pace, and we were following, and we had to stop occasionally, let the horses do their thing, and then we had to step around it on the trail. That's about as exciting as it gets. But when you get to the top, the view is awe-inspiring.
Hmm.
One day we started out in the parking lot in Rocky Mountain National Park. It was in the 80s. And we climbed to the top of Flat Top. And when we got up there, there was a blizzard going on. We couldn't see 15 feet and there was snow everywhere.
Wow.
What was the weather when you started?
It was in the 80s.
What the heck?
He said that already. It was in the 80s. By the time they got to the top, there was a blizzard.
It was
Oh,
in the
my
80s.
bad. I thought this was like in the 1980s.
No, I didn't move out here till 2003.
Okay.
Keep up, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, my bad. My bad.
Did you got me kicking early?
So, yeah,
No answer.
you're messing with me. So, Mike, I want to know of all the characters that you've personally created, what's your favorite one?
Badger.
And you're going to have to pick one. You can't say they're all my favorites.
He just did.
Did you hear me, Jeff?
No, I did not. I think I was talking.
Badger.
I heard you,
Badger.
Badger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
tell us a little
That's
bit
what I
about
figured.
Badger.
Well, we got Nexus going, and I wanted to get another book going. And I saw Jeff Butler's art on a poster downtown Madison. He had done a poster for, I think, the UW basketball Badgers. And I called him out. I said, Jeff, do you want to do comics? He said, yeah. And I said, well, what do you want to draw, Jeff? And he says, I want to draw druids. So I said, okay. And I wrote this 10-page story about a druid wizard who was an apostate and so reviled by his fellow wizards that they took up a collection and hired the Vikings to put him in a coma, sail west, and drop him off the edge of the earth. But of course, they never came to the edge of the earth. They came to North America, and they carried him inland as far as they could, and then they buried him in what would turn out to be Wisconsin. So Jeff drew it, and it was beautiful. And we took it in, and we showed it to the boys at Capitol. And Milton says, nah, no one wants to read about druids. Give us a costume crime fighter. And my first thought was, why wouldn't anybody put on a costume and fight crime? They'd have to be insane. But I was reading a book at the time called The Minds of Billy Milligan. It was the first serious study of multiple personality disorder. So that's where that idea came from. And then I went to, I said, Jeff, they don't want druids. They want a costume crime fighter. And Jeff says, well, I'm not going to waste these pages. I said, fine. I'll write the Badger and we'll use the first 10 pages, and the Badger won't appear until page 11, which is what happened. And then they meet when they're both in an insane asylum, Nakoma State Hospital for the mentally ill. And that's how Badger met Ham the Weather Wizard.
There you go.
Okay. I've never read those actually, but I'm going to have to.
Right. It sounds really interesting.
They do
You know,
sound
I mean,
interesting.
when I
don't they?
Googled Badger, all kinds of weird shit was coming up.
Google Badger comic.
Yeah, it's also
Well, yeah, I had to get specific. I just Googled Badger and, the shit that popped up. Scary, some of it.
Oh my God. Right off the
It was,
tracks.
what's that thing? The honey badger. That's what I saw, the honey badger.
what the
Well,
hell?
I like the honey badger, but he's
Yeah.
African.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but there are many types of badgers. The North American badger is pretty ferocious. The English badger is a nice, polite fellow who will sit down and have tea with you. And the honey badger, as everybody knows, don't give a shit. Have you seen that video?
I have,
I
yeah.
don't know.
You've never seen
What?
that, man? Oh, it's a riot.
I might
Yeah,
have.
yeah, just Google honey badger don't give a shit.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to write that down. or I'm going to forget.
That's all right. I'll remind you. Now, there we go.
Yeah. And so this is Dark Horse Comics, Badger.
Yeah, that Jill Thompson illustrated that series. We've had many artists on the Badger over the years, as befits a multiple personality, and most of them have been pretty great.
Now, how many books in total do you have with the Badger?
Well, there's over 100, well over 100. There are a couple of collections IDW put out years ago, but they're very hard to find. And we're talking about putting out a couple more omnibuses. First is still in business, but it doesn't have the presence it used to have. It's more or less a boutique publisher now that puts out a handful of graphic novels every year.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Pops is just blowing up the chat, huh?
I know.
He is going off.
Pop says you wrote a Bruce Lee book?
That's true. I wrote Bruce Lee for Malibu. And this
nice.
was back in the days before the Lee family was micromanaging every manifestation and dealing with them to get the maximum profit, which I certainly understand. But we were pretty free to do whatever story we wanted. And Val Myerick was the illustrator. And one of my goals when I do comics, especially martial arts comics, is to portray the martial arts in a realistic and dynamic manner, and not with people wildly swinging their fists or a big close-up of a foot. People don't want to see that. They want to see clear, exciting, dynamic techniques like you would see in a great kung fu movie. And so I choreograph these elaborately so that the reader can see the technique and the fight unfold step by step and understand the techniques that are used. And they're far more than just punches and kicks. We use joint locks, takedowns, chokeouts, things like those to make it interesting, because you can characterize a person in a fight by their actions. And another thing I have to point out is when people are fighting, they don't carry on conversations. They don't make witty quips. They barely have the breath to keep moving. And that's another thing that I've done in all my martial arts comics, is to do away with that awful forced banter that appears in most action comics.
True. It's true.
Yeah, it is, actually. I never looked at it like that, but
No, it's very true. So
Because you know,
I mean,
a lot of comic book writers they look at the finished pages and they think, well, here's a panel. I have to add some words. Well, no, you don't. I mean, one of the tenets of visual storytelling, being a movie, a comic, or a novel, is to show, don't tell. You impart as much knowledge visually as you can to advance the story for the reader to absorb. And you saved your words for characterization and sometimes to advance the story, but you parcel those words out like gold. You don't spread them all over everything like manure.
very well said. I noticed,
Yeah.
comics throughout the ages, like more recently, it seems to be more of a collaboration between the writer and the artist. Where a lot of the newer comics are relying more on art, and trying to be sparse with the words. You gotta let the
wish.
art. What's that?
We wish. But
Oh,
let's
yeah.
face it, comics are a visual medium. And the reason all of us got into comics is because we saw some spectacular art, be it
Yep.
Steranko or Neil Adams or Mark Silvestri or Todd McFarlane or Kelly Jones. We saw that and we thought, wow, that's fantastic. I have to have that. But most of the time, you take those books home and you read them, and the story just doesn't measure up.
Yeah.
But that's true of every field. There's a great science fiction writer. His name was Theodore Sturgeon. And he created Sturgeon's Law, which is 90% of everything is crap. And that applies across the board to all arts.
Right.
90% of everything is crap.
That's true.
I thought it was more than that.
Well, maybe nowadays it is.
Right?
It's more like 98%. Go ahead, Leo.
No. I was just gonna say I totally get what you're getting at there, Mike. I mean, looking back at a lot of comics in like the 80s, like the early X-Men and stuff like that, just they try to throw way too much story in it, and it's like it's absolutely right. You're not going to have a huge narrative during a fight or anything like that. It was utterly ridiculous.
Looking back.
Right.
Well, I mean, compared to books today, they definitely cut down on a lot of verbiage. It's still there, but
Right.
Compared, books in the 80s and even like the early 90s to books today, it's definitely a vast difference.
So I read you also published a book in 2014 called Biker.
Yes, I just published the 9th novel earlier this year. I'm working on the 10th one now. Biker is hard-boiled crime. And the protagonist, a reformed motorcycle hoodlum who went to prison and found God and came out determined to turn his life around. The stories are harsh. They are brutal. There's a lot of action. I'm working in the footprints of masters like Raymond Chandler and John D. MacDonald, if I dare compare myself to them. But I'm happy with the books, and the readers seem happy with the books, so I am encouraged.
And you're having fun.
I am having fun. The latest Biker is called Khan, and was inspired by the Tiger King. And they hire Josh, an animal sanctuary, hires Josh to help them go into this tiger circus like the Tiger King kept. While they transport the sick and injured animals into their trucks to take them to a sanctuary and nurse them back to health, because they fear that the people that remain at the tiger circus are hostile to them, and they are, and they might need some protection. But what the story is really about is one of the women there forges a bond with a Siberian tiger, and before the sanctuary people arrive, she takes off with the tiger. So they hire Josh to track her down and bring the tiger back.
Okay.
Wow. How many stories you got in that little head? Endless?
As many as necessary.
Right.
You know,
Right.
It's amazing. It seems to me all I do is sit around and scroll through the internet. I have friends who are very successful, who write 2,000 to 5,000 words a day, come hell or high water, and that's all they do. And one of them is my friend Peter Brandvold, the Western writer. He's got 50 novels in print. If you love Westerns, you'll love Peter Brandvold. And Pete just gets up every morning, sits down and writes.
Wow.
And so does Kevin J. Anderson. Kevin doesn't actually write. He dictates into a recording machine while hiking through the mountains. And he publishes at least 500,000 words a year. You know him by his Dune sequels, but also his star-spanning sagas and Dan Shamble, Zombie Detective.
Wow. See, I can't write like that. I have to have solitude. I can't just get up and write. It's got to be right mind frame for me anyways.
Well, you got to force yourself into that mind frame, but I hear you about solitude.
You know, like when we, Jeff and I, when we first started writing the novel that we spun into the comic books, it started at his camp up in Maine, because I would be the first one up at 5 a.m. sitting there looking at the lake, nothing. And it just opens and I can just write. And I'm old school. So I write it all down on paper and then I go back and type it up.
Good for you.
And then I send it to Jeff and he goes, "What the hell? There's no punctuations. It's all capitalized."
I write like that too. But then, of course, once I make notes in a notepad, and when I get to what I think is a critical mass, where the characters and the personalities and the plot come together, then I start an outline. I used to shun outlines, but now I'm a big believer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll write an outline, and when the outline is finished, then I'll start on the novel.
Okay. I can see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many words do you write a day?
Well, I try to do at least one chapter, and a chapter is between 1,200 and 1,600 words. But sometimes when I'm really ripping along, I'll do 2 chapters, and maybe even 3.
Yep. See, and that's what I meant by that. Sometimes I can sit down and I just can't get the whole chapter out. But there's other times, like you said, where I can sit down and I can write 3 or 4 chapters. And it's all, like I said, my solitude, where my head is at the time.
My latest project is The Private American. It came about because I have been toying with vigilante characters all my life. I wrote The Punisher for 5 years, and I asked myself, what would the Punisher do today if I were writing him? He would be on the southern border trying to stanch the flow of fentanyl, human traffickers, and terrorists coming into the country. And so I wrote it. And I have 3 rules when writing. My first rule is the most important. It's that it's my job to entertain. The book must enthrall. It's my goal to grab the reader by the throat and drag him into the narrative to the exclusion of all else. And I try to do that. And I don't let anything out of the house unless it's a home run these days. And Private American is that kind of story. Number 2 is show, don't tell. And we've already been over that. Number 3 is be original. Well, how do you do that? Well, we're all unique human beings. And we bring our own personal observations and attitudes to what we write.
Right.
But the more you can imagine the viewpoint of other characters, the better writer you'll be. A truly great writer has to imagine every point of view. You look at Shakespeare. There are people today that said, he shouldn't have written Othello. That's cultural appropriation, to which we say, GTFO.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyhow, as you know, some vicious creep out of the blue attacked us with an article on the Daily Cause saying that the book was racist as fuck. And those are her words. She hasn't seen the book. She has no idea what's in the book. There's no racism in it whatsoever. And then she called all her pals to start writing Kickstarter to have our program removed. And she succeeded. And they took it down from Kickstarter.
Yep.
So now the only place you can order it is on Indiegogo. But like a lot of my friends, my book is being shadow banned, which means if you go to Indiegogo and type in Private American by Mike Barron, it won't show up. The only way you can find it is by following this link, theprivateamerican.com, and that'll take you right to it. And we're in demand now, and we're doing very well. As you know, I was on Fox News on Monday.
I was going to bring that up.
Then the numbers rose precipitously. And I was on Fox News because they were astonished at the pettiness of these censors who are trying to prevent a point of view they don't like, even though it's fiction and billed as fiction and pure entertainment, from seeing the light of day.
Right.
But I promise you this, it's a very entertaining comic. There's no speeches in it. There are no bumper stickers. There are no lectures. It's just pure action. And, 10 or 20 years ago, this storyline wouldn't be controversial at all. It's just in today's hyper-partisan atmosphere, we're not permitted to mention the southern border. It's ridiculous.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I watched your interview on Fox.
Yeah.
And I was kind of blown away that somebody would even bring that to the table, saying that, because in all honesty, I want to see the comic come out because I want to read it.
Well, you'll love it.
Because I love that stuff. I love the good guy gets the bad guy, saves that person, so he blew his head off. Oh, great. It's like you said, it's fiction. And it's in the reader.
Right. And, it's not overly gruesome. There's been worse stuff in Marvel Comics. It's just all action.
Right.
And Richard Bonk is our artist. He did that cover. Gabe El-Taib colored it. We have two other covers, one by my friend Steve Rude and one by Dan Lawless. They're both magnificent. You can see them there.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So despite the fact of what happened, you said this is moving along well.
Oh, yes.
Now?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yes. And
well, it should.
Yeah. And
Right.
we're looking at other crowdfunding possibilities. And a lot of people are looking at them now because they're fed up with this petty censorship. And I have some friends who are creating crowdfunding platforms, which we will probably be moving to in the future. Now, if you have a big enough following, like Eric July, who has thousands of YouTube followers, he introduced his own comic called Isom,
Mm-hmm.
And he raised $3 million in a couple of weeks. Well, the other day, somebody sent me a link to his program, and to my astonishment, he was talking about me. The whole program was
Right.
about how petty these people are and trying to stifle a point of view they don't like.
No, it is true.
It's sad, really. It's just
Oh, it's
sad.
extremely. I don't know how somebody can judge something that isn't even out to be read yet.
And,
Well,
It-
this, if you go back to like when I was in school, and I know Leo, you're right here in my age. Jeff, you're a few years older, but we were always taught in school to never judge a book by its cover.
Oh yeah.
That's all I'm going to
but
say.
that's why we bought all those comics, because of the covers.
Well, right. We loved the cover, but we didn't judge the book.
Right.
See, I never judged what was going to be in the book. I just loved the artwork.
Well,
So sometimes I'd get through the first page and go, yeah, it's crap in there, but this artwork is fucking
That's
amazing.
exactly right.
I mean, Jeff is the same way. I can say I've walked into record stores with him and go, oh, dude, look at this cover of this album. This is insane. This is awesome. The music sucked,
Uh,
but the cover was great.
Well, as long as you mention music, I have to have physical products. So, and I review music all the time. I'm a huge power pop fan. I
Mhm.
write for popgeekheaven.com. And I do it. I don't get paid. I do it so I can keep up with the new music. And every year I say it, and every year it's true. This has been one of the greatest years in pop music history. You just never know it reading the so-called music press or watching the so-called awards shows or the Billboard charts, because it's all underground. The exciting, beautiful music we loved as younger people, like I'm talking about the Beatles, Cheap Trick, the Beach Boys, the Byrds, that's all power pop. It's all underground, but it's thriving more than ever. And most of these bands are putting out their CDs. And I always say, give me physical product. They say, Mike, we'll send you a download. And I say, no, I don't want to see a download. I don't do downloads. I don't sit at my computer and listen to the album. I listen to the record while I'm driving around. I put it in the dash. And collectors have to have physical product. And even though the CD is a lot smaller than the album, it's still a canvas on which you can portray art that reflects the music. And I comment on that too, because you have to respect what they do with that. It's still the size of a postcard. It's big enough. You know, hang on one second. Let me grab a couple of records. They're right over here, and I'll show you what I mean. If this thing will stretch. All right. Yeah. All right. See what we got.
Okay.
Well, this is Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Band. This is old. This is like 3 decades old, but he did the song Loveland, which is a classic soul song, which I just love. And this is not the greatest selection because all the good ones are filed alphabetically downstairs. These are just ones I happen to have sitting around.
Right.
All right. This is a big stir compilation. It's pretty good. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I like the cover art. This is a collection of songs by all their artists.
Right.
This is a Beachwood Sparks album. This is not the best Beachwood Sparks album, but it's a pretty good cover. Who is the Beachwood Sparks? Well, I call them canyon music. Music inspired by Crosby, Stills, and Nash and the Byrds. And their first record is a masterpiece, just incredible. Check out Beachwood Sparks if you like canyon music. And by that, it's also a connection with the Grateful Dead, especially Working Man's Dead. If you like that sound, and let's face it, there are many modern bands now that take their sounds from decades ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because that format, the 3 or 4 minute song with the tonic, the bridge, and the hook, will never go out of fashion. It's that hook that people crave. What's the hookiest song of all time? Well, it might be Come On Eileen, but there's also the Raspberries, Go All the Way. The Raspberries were a classic power pop band. Now, there are so many great power pop bands producing music today. I can't name them all. But if you go to popgeekheaven.com or powerpopaholic.com, we review those records religiously and we update them. Power Popaholic updates them at least once a week. And he'll keep you up to speed on what's happening right now. I'll just name a few of my favorites. The Foreign Films from Canada, they will blow your mind. I think Bill Majoros is like Mozart. I mean, except it's rock, and it just rocks out. And Sloan is another Canadian band that's absolutely brilliant. Wanderlust, the Shazam, probably the greatest power pop band you've never heard of. They're no longer operating, but Wanderlust is still going concern. You just have to. Tower of Power Pops, that's soul, and that's one of my favorite bands. I love Tower of Power. I can't get enough of them. I've seen them twice. I'd love to see them a dozen more times. And they've been together for 52 years. It's just unbelievable.
Wow. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. I mean,
So, go ahead, Ben.
no, go ahead.
I was going to ask you what do you have laid out for like the next couple of years? Are there any news stories you want to come out with? You got anything in the works?
Oh, the pipeline is very crowded. Next up is Bronze Star, a supernatural Western that Pat Broderick is illustrating. He's almost done. It's the greatest work of his career. It will just blow your mind. I've been posting a lot of the art, but if you want to see what it looks like, go to Pat Broderick's Facebook page. He's been posting a lot of it there. After that comes the second Florida Man graphic novel, and its only purpose is to make you spit up milk through your nose. It's even funnier than the first. I'm really excited about that. And then we're doing a Nexus graphic novel that Kelsey Shannon is illustrating. And Kelsey is knocking it out of the park.
Mm.
And then I have some more projects that are a little further on down the line. Some of them haven't even been written yet. There's some of Pat's work for Bronze Star.
Wow.
The reason the town is so peaceful at night is because the sheriff is a werewolf. But that's not the main supernatural hook. I have to stress that we're not giving away the story by showing a werewolf.
I'll have to check that one out
Okay,
too.
sounds interesting.
That's pretty good.
Oh, and I've already written the second Thin Blue Line, and it's even better than the first. We're all excited about that one. Thin Blue Line was a book we put out earlier this year about 2 police officers trying to survive a night of rioting in a big Midwestern city. It was inspired by the riots of 2020, and anybody who's read it has gone crazy because it's one of the best stories I've ever done. It's a memorable story. It's probably the best story that appeared last year. I don't want to, geez, I'm just down boy. Well, I'm very happy with it. But anyhow, that was a book that this creature on Daily Cause characterized as white police officers invading black neighborhoods to kill as many black people as possible. Nothing could be further from the truth. She obviously didn't read the book and has no interest in the book. And that book is available if you go to thinbluelinecomics.com.
Okay. So, and I know if you guys check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us, you can find all those links in the show notes, or you'll find a link that'll bring you to those links in the show notes.
Wait. Did you just do that by yourself, Ben?
I did. I was waiting for you, but we're 42 minutes in. You've totally fucking forgot. I took care of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Leo. It's only because you're cold.
Yeah, well, much appreciated. Much appreciated. Plus, I got like a knot in my back. I think the cold. I slept wrong. So
Put a hat on.
There you go. He told you.
yeah. Well, it's warming up now. I don't know if you heard when we came on. I didn't have heat last night, so it got mighty cold in here.
Where do you live?
Connecticut.
You're going to get socked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was certainly not as cold as Colorado, but it was 22 last night, and 22 without heat is a little chilly.
It's cold, but I think when we came on, Mike said it's going to be 18 below.
Yeah, I know. That's why I
Yes.
said not.
18 below.
That's
Right, yeah,
insane.
Even with
understood.
heat, it's cold.
So, Mike, do you do appearances and such?
Occasionally. I'm not as busy as I used to be, but I've done a couple of cons this year. I did one in Boston over Thanksgiving. The only reason I did it is I lived in Boston for 7
Where-
years.
Whereabouts?
Cambridge, Brookline, Summerfield,
Very nice.
Back Bay. I was all over the place. And I have some good friends there I wanted to visit. But
Very nice.
the
Yeah.
con was interesting. It was in the middle of nowhere. The
Boxborough?
Boxborough Regency.
No,
I rode
that
to the
Northeast-
airport with Lindsay Wagner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I know she was there.
Yeah. Lindsay was there. Bill was there. So, yep. Yeah, that was one of the shows we used to do a long time ago. We haven't done it in a few years.
Do you know Gary Summers?
Yep. Yeah, we know
written-
Gary.
Gary's written a rock opera.
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
Yep.
Have you heard it?
I have not.
You should give it a listen. Hang on
Yeah.
a second.
He was actually writing that the last time we were there. A couple years ago. Yeah, besties.
Beasties.
Beasties, besties.
Right. And if you go to beastiesrockopera.com, you can listen to some of the songs. I think they're terrific.
I didn't know it was out. Yeah, I didn't know it was
No.
out yet.
Well, he's releasing it digitally, and we're looking for a label. I told him I'd help him because I think it ought to be a CD, because I'm not going to listen to it digitally.
He's just not going to do it. He's
You know?
not going to read your book digitally, folks. He's not going to listen to the CD digitally. Send him a hard copy.
Yeah.
Physical
Yeah.
copy.
Well, I'm like that. I got all my CDs behind me.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
collectors.
hanging on the wall.
Collectors. We don't want digital comics or digital movies. I want a DVD box that I can pour over. And,
Right. And I want to read a fucking book.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I do the best of both worlds. I buy the physical media and then I rip it and I have a media server. So it's then I have it on a home network. So it's easy to access. But I have the physical media when I want to,
right.
use it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
But
best of both worlds.
yeah. I'm only about 35 minutes outside of Boston. Same with
Where
Jeff.
do you live?
I'm in Plymouth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff is in Halifax, which is between me and Boston. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't even
Well,
know you.
Were you
Small
guys
Yeah, I
there
didn't
in the
know you were there.
70s?
What's that?
Were you guys there in the 70s?
I sure
Well, I was
was.
born in 72, so yeah. So yeah, I was here in the 70s.
Yeah, I'm
Yep,
going to be on
nice.
Yellow Flash in a little bit. I'm going to have to check out a little early, boys.
That's fine. So, I think he said his computer's running low.
Who's?
Is that what you just said?
No. I just say I'm going to have to check out a little early here because I have to do some things before I appear on the next show.
That's fine. That's
Where my
fine.
dogs will eat me alive.
So we'll give it 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So last questions from anybody and last comments. I'm looking at the chat. So will we wait for any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Leo, Jeff.
Yeah, totally. So I see you did a what if number 83. So what kind I know what ifs are like an alternate universe. What kind of constraints did Marvel give on like a what if?
I can't really remember any editorial interference I had on any book I wrote for Marvel or DC. Pops wants me to mention Smokes the Fox, which my friend Justin Belmont asked me to write. It's about a dope smoking mutant fox in the wilds of Colorado.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of a conversation ender. I wish I had a copy here to show you that.
I like that.
Well, there you go. There's a collaboration, Jeff, right? We'll bring our weed smoking zombies to his weed smoking fox. You didn't think that?
No, that's a different kind of movie. That's Foxy Zombies. That's an X.
Jeez. You also wrote, like we mentioned, Batman and Superman. You've done work.
No,
on...
I never wrote any Superman. I wrote a couple of Batman.
Okay. Wikipedia is wrong because it said you had Action Comics. Wow.
Wikipedia wrong? How is this possible?
Right. It must be digital. Oh my.
So what did you enjoy from writing Batman?
Well, I wrote 2 Batman stories that Bill Reinhold illustrated, and Bill's one of my favorite illustrators, and I took the opportunity to get him to draw futuristic architecture. It was so long ago, I forget what the stories were about, but I remember that they had something to do with architecture, and Bill's really good at that.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, that was your last question.
Well, fine then.
You got a last question for our guest?
I had one more. I was gone.
I've got a lot of fucking shit to read now.
Well, you can have my question. Go ahead, Leo. I'll let you.
No, I was gonna ask, how the hell did Atari Force happen? Like
that was my first job for DC. I'm not sure how that happened. They asked me to write Atari Force, and I was happy to do it. I really didn't know what I was doing, but I had good instincts. I always had confidence that I could write a comic. I don't know why. It took me 30 years to learn how to write a novel, but that's because I'm a slow learner. But I always felt I could write a comic. And one of the reasons I did was I tried to be an artist for many years. And when I finally started writing comics, I wrote them by drawing each page out by hand and drawing in the complete scene, figures, landscapes, my half-assed perspective. I'm not a great artist, but I'm good enough that an editor and an artist can see what I'm doing at a glance. And this taught me a very important lesson as I moved from panel to panel. It was to always think, what happens next? Which is the essential question in all fiction. What happens next? And the reader has to care before he'll turn the page. Well, how do you make the reader care? There are a million different ways, but you just have to make the reader care. You'll know when you get excited about your own work. As the great director Sam Fuller said, if it doesn't give you a hard on, throw it in the trash.
Very true. Very true. And on that note,
I was just thinking about all the stuff I could throw away.
I was too. On that note, Leo.
Yeah, on that note, we'll wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I run the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got a ton of awesome shows on the network. A lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing another live show at 9 p.m. So make sure you tune in for that. We're going to be having a lot of fun. And also check out Splash Pages from yesterday. We did a live reading of Batman Noel, which was a lot of fun. It's, 6 of us. We did all the voices and everything. But Michael, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Bloody Red Baron. I'm on Facebook at the Comics and Novels of Mike Baron. I have a website, bloodyredbaron.com. And I have a Substack column, Mike Baron on Substack. And that's where I write about popular culture and a lot of things. Check it out.
Very cool. Very cool. Jeffrey.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, it's my turn now. What was it? Stilltoken.com. Go to stilltoken.com. Yeah, that's what you want to do. I'm really gummy. Mike, you're an inspiration. Thank you very much. I'm glad you were able to join us. And yeah, I'm really fucking high right now.
Benjamin, take us out.
So like Jeff said, stilltoken.com for all Michael's links and notes. They're in the show notes up above, down below. Depending on where you're watching or listening, you'll find him. Check him out. Definitely check out Private American. Give it a pump up. I definitely want to see this come out along with all the other amazing stuff that he's already done. It's there. You can find it. Trust me. To all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do every day so people like us can do what we do. We're out of here. We'll see you next week. Stay safe.